Welcome back, everybody. Today, in my career mode series, we are doing the Bahrain Grand Prix. As you can see on the screen, both of the upgrades we applied in Australia have been put on the car, meaning that we have pulled away from the rest of the midfield, if just a little bit. Other gains, Red Bull catches Ferrari, Williams starts to catch the rest of us, just barely, and I think that was the Toro Rosso that was gaining. So I don't have much to say, so we're just going to cut right into qualifying. Here we are in Q1 at the end of my first lap. It wasn't the greatest lap. I was just trying to get a feel for the car in low qualifying conditions. I think I missed like an apex or two, and we come across the line for P3, but I was one of the first people out. So if we cut to the timing screen, we can see that I'm falling down the order, and Roman Grosjean is too. I feel like I'm dropping too far to be safe, so I do decide to go out for a second lap. I don't feel comfortable in P11, but at the end of my second flying lap in Q1, you can see that I'm still in P12, so I don't really need to finish it, but might as well. I'm up a 10th on my time, and I finish in P11, and I think that's more than safe enough. I think I can make it in the Q3 with the P11 time. I didn't go that fast on my first lap. You can see that I finished with a 130.8, and Grosjean finished with a 131.0, which he finished in 14th, so he's safe. But we'll have to see if he can make it through the Q3. I think it's worth mentioning that I turned the difficulty down from 95 to 93, just because I know Bahrain's one of the more difficult tracks. Here we go with our first lap at Q2. This is the set of tires that I used on my second flying lap on Q1. I finished in P9, which is just barely safe, but as you can see when I cut to the end of my second flying lap, I am in P13, so I need to improve. This lap wasn't great. I didn't do good around turn 10, and I get 1/10 up on my old time, which is just good enough to get me in the Q3. Yeah, so around turn 10, I lost grip on the back end and I spun out a little, so I lost a little bit there, and I was actually down on my first lap for most of that second lap. You'd see Roman Grosjean comes in P15, so he's out. I'm barely safe with like 6/100ths of a second between me and Raikkonen. Yeah, if I didn't get a good turn out of the good exit out of the final turn, rather, I would have been out P11. But maybe Raikkonen has the upper hand here, because, with Bahrain, the tire wear is high, and if you start on the medium tire, you can actually make a one-stop work. But I'm going to have to do the two-stop, because I'm going to have to start on the softs I just qualified on. So I didn't set a banker time because in Q2, my first lap on the old tires, it wasn't that quick, so I just decided to do it on the new tires. So I'm just going to show the whole lap here because this is the final qualifying lap I'm doing. So turn 1, you want to brake at the start of the rumble strip and shift down the gear 1, short shift in the gear 2. Then you want to get as much of the throttle down through turns 2 and 3 to maximize your run on the second DRS straight. Turn 4, you want to brake at the 100-meter board, shift down to gear 3, be careful because it's off camber and you can easily spin out if you're not careful. Turn 5, you want to hug to the left so you can take turn 6 tight and then open up turn 7 to get a better run down to turn 8, which is another hairpin. I do go a little wide here, I lost a little bit of time. The next is the two trickiest corners in the map, turn 9 and 10. You want to make sure you get your entry perfect and your braking good so you don't lock up and fly off the track. I had a little bit of a screen freeze, so I just did a little flashback so I didn't get screwed over by the game. This is the back DRS straight, that third and final one in the corner. The circuit, rather. The next up is turn 11, fast left-hander. You want to brake between the 100 and the 50-meter board. I go wide there again, too. Turn 12 can be taken flat. Just don't touch the inside corner or you'll spin. Turn 13, you want to take as tight as you can, or late apex, so you can get a faster run down the back straight. Turns 14 and 15 are basically the same corner. You just want to take 14 at the apex and 15 wide so you can get a good run down the pit straight. And we have finished in P9. The team may be disappointed, but I don't think it's disappointing.
And with qualifying complete, let's review our top three today. Hamilton, Bottas, and Charles Leclerc. Well, that wraps up qualifying, but don't worry, we'll be back tomorrow as we head into the Grand Prix.
Kind of nice and solid in between Lucas Weber and Lance Stroll. We would have had to do amazing performance to catch up to Lucas Weber. Maybe if I didn't make those two mistakes, we could have got P8. But we'll see how the race goes. It'll be interesting, the strategies at play.
There's something in the Bahrain air tonight, and I'm not just talking about the sand. Our brightest minds have thrust their brightest ideas into the spotlight of the Sakhir circuit this evening as we look ahead once more to a Grand Prix that has thrilled us so consistently in the past. We go racing today around 3.36 miles of the magnificent Bahrain International Circuit, with 15 corners and 2 good passing opportunities into turns 1 and 4. Keep an eye out for drivers locking the front left tyre into the tricky braking zone of turn 10. Alongside me once again for coverage of today's race, it's none other than the great Anthony Davidson. Let's talk about Bird. As with all the drivers at this level, they have a lot of ambition, but Formula One's a daunting step up from any other series, so expectations are high right from the start.
And this is something that has ended the career of many a young driver, as that leap up to Formula One proves to be too much. But luckily in this case, I'd say they're doing a good solid job, and the risk the team took in signing them is definitely starting to pay off.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. An immense lap from Lewis Hamilton yesterday puts him on pole position, with Charles Leclerc alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Vettel, Butler, Max Verstappen and Perez, Weber, Bird, Stroll and Kimi Raikkonen, Gasly, Bottas. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Nico Hülkenberg and Norris, Grosjean, Ricciardo, George Russell and Robert Kubica, Giovinazzi and Daniel Kvyat completes the grid. And with preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track.
You have a good chance of getting a points position today.
So as you can see, we are forced to start on the soft tire. The tire that we qualified in Q2 on, since we made it in the Q3. So that means the strategy is going to be the soft, the 2 sets of mediums. I'm putting an extra lap of fuel in the car because this is a power circuit. So I would rather use the engine as much as possible and not have to fuel save the whole time like I did in Australia. So here we come at the start sequence of the Bahrain Grand Prix, 5 red lights, and away we go. It looks like we got a good start on Weber, but we bogged down and he gets away from us. Lance Stroll coming up our outside here as we dive up around Perez. A little bit of screen freezes. I was having a little bit of issues with that this race, but I solved the issue for the next one. We're still in P8. Our rear tires are pretty eaten up from qualifying. We dive up Perez. We tap Weber, but we're lucky to get away without any damage. Weber's still on our outside, but that turns to the inside, so I try to go up around the outside, but it didn't really work out. I'm still in P8, so we didn't lose anything, which is all I could ask for. But now we're gonna have to deal with holding on to this, because now we got Bottas behind us, and he's in the fastest car on the grid, of course. So it's gonna be tough to keep him at bay, but so realistically we're gonna be in P9. So as you can see, Bottas has closed up to us pretty quickly, and Perez is getting away up in P7, so it looks like we're going to fall down to P9 when Bottas overtakes us. The Haas car isn't fast enough to hold the Mercedes back forever, and especially in this back straight where Bottas is getting slipstream, he's alongside us, and he's going to dive up the inside, so I have to take the final corner wide. He is gonna get out in front, but that's gonna allow me to get in the slipstream of him, and the slipstream is pretty strong here. So I'm gonna, on this tight braking zone, I'm gonna dive up the inside of him and try to squeeze him out on turn 2 to keep myself in P8, and it works. So Bottas is going to have to stay behind me for a little bit longer. So once again, at the end of the next lap, lap 2, Bottas is pressuring me again in the same exact spot. He is right up my gearbox as we go through the fast right-hander going onto the back, and then the next right-hander going onto the back straight. He is right there. I'm going to pull off to the right side so he can't get slipstream. And now as we go around the next turn, he is going to be right on top of me, and I don't think I'll be able to hold him back this time. I move over to the right side to prevent him from getting slipstream, but he's already pulling by me anyway. DRS enabled on lap 3. I tried to hold it around on the inside, but he's basically cleanly through, and then onto the second DRS straight, I just decided to turn the engine down since I had the DRS on him, and there's no point in me holding him up. It'll just slow the both of us down, and it won't be any good for anybody, especially for me who's on the edge of point positions. So as we cut to the middle of lap 4, you can see that my engineer is asking me to move my pit stop from lap 7 to lap 5, and I completely agree with this. My rear tires are shot, so we're going to cut to the end of lap 5 here as we're about to make our pit stop. We're going to go in for a set of mediums, and it's a pretty slow pit entry if you ask me. If there's one thing I need to work on aside from just my pace in general, it's my pit stop entries. They're not great at all. Fit the set of mediums is a pretty okay stop. But yeah, as we come out of the pit lane now, we're going to be in last place once again, just like in Australia, but at least this time it's through actual strategy. We had the pit earlier than a lot of people, and we're trying to get the undercut on them, so we'll probably be in last for a little bit. So as we jump to the beginning of lap 14, we are finally starting to catch the cars ahead of us. Robert Kubica is up next in the Williams. As you can see, there's a huge train forming ahead of him. I think it's one of the Toro Rossos that are holding up everybody here. I'm not 100% sure, but doesn't matter right now. Our first task is to get around Kubica, but since Williams is pretty bad right now, beginning of the career mode, slowest car in the grid, we are catching up to him rapidly. It's just trying to pick our time to make the move to pull in front of him. Sector 2 isn't that great of a passing opportunity, but heading toward the back end of it, after this long straight, we might get a chance, especially since we get DRS on him. And he doesn't have DRS, so we're going to close up pretty massively onto him. We don't catch up enough, so we're going to make the left-hander. But the Williams is so bad on downforce that we are going to close up massively around the flat-out right-hander, and I'm going to dive up the inside. And he turns in and makes contact, but I'm through clearly. I don't know how to talk, but there's a car smoking up ahead on the racing line. It's Max Verstappen. He's out of the Grand Prix with an engine failure. And you can see that Pierre Gasly and Nico Hülkenberg are diving to the pits. And that's going to benefit them massively as we get a safety car. That is pretty good for them because they are going to be able to jump most of the pack if a lot of people decide to pit. So now we are coming in for our pit stop under the safety car. I figured our pit stop window wasn't really open until like 2 laps from now, but if we spend 2 laps under the safety car, it'll be fine. Roman Grosjean's in the pit, but he manages to get out right before we do. That way we don't really get held up too much, but a 4-second pit stop. I don't think it really mattered how fast our pit stop was. We are coming out in 19th place last because Max Verstappen retired. So we're gonna have to do a lot of overtaking as soon as the safety car is done. So now we are coming to the end of the safety car period. We have 9 cars to overtake if we want to get into the points. And the first one up is Robert Kubica, who we had to overtake earlier in the Grand Prix. Hopefully it'll be easy as he's on the hard tires, and that is the worst time for everybody to start accelerating. I was right on the corner. I would have rather just been able to like to floor it. But Kubica gets away from us, and everybody's in the slipstream, so I am not able to catch him on this straight. But I'm going to dive up the inside, but I'm not close enough, so to avoid getting my front wing taken off, I back out of it. But that's going to put me back a little bit in Kubica. We're going to have to wait until the end of another straight to try to overtake him. But good news is since there's a huge train of cars from the safety car, we are able to close right back up to Kubica. We know he is slow around the slow right-hander, so that's where I'm planning to make my move. Because I'll be able to catch up to him with the toe on the back straight, and then his lack of downforce will slow him down and allow me to make a move. But we'll have to execute it well, or else we could be taken out of this race if he turns into us. So here we go. Around the left-hander, Kubica is really slow out of there, and I'm just gonna bore my way in between him and the curb and make an easy, clean pass around the inside. So next is Giovinazzi. We're gonna have to overtake him. And then it looks like there's a Lucas Weber in the McLaren, and then George Russell in the other Williams, who looks like he's holding up some people. But no DRS because of the safety car. And it looks like Giovinazzi is going to make a move on Lucas Weber here around the outside. And he gets the much better traction out of there and cleanly overtakes him. No DRS still, so Weber has no assistance in getting him back in front. I'm just a little too far back to overtake Weber, but Weber's going to be our next target now that he's behind Giovinazzi. We're going to cut to the end of the next lap, where we're all still in this long train, and I get DRS is enabled. I get a good run out of the corner compared to Weber, and I'm slowly catching and I'm just much better under braking than he is, and I go cleanly around the outside. He actually turns into me a little bit, but I don't think any of us really felt it, so Giovinazzi is up next. And hopefully with the DRS assistance I can make a move on them, but he'll have DRS too, because Gasly in front. But we'll have to see. Here we go. DRS open, and we'll see if we're able to catch him. I can't talk right now, but let's see. Gasly and Giovinazzi go around Russell. Russell kind of squeezes me, but I'm gonna try to go around the outside. It doesn't work, but Giovinazzi gets held up, so I make it around him, and then I get the DRS on Gasly, and I'm able to pull around him because I get a much better entry into the straight than he does. And I go right around him on the inside. But we'll see how that happened, because I think it was 3 wide for a minute. Gasly goes around Russell. Giovinazzi tries too, but Gasly's in his way. Giovinazzi runs over the curb, slowing him down. Gasly gets squeezed out by Russell, which caused him to be slow, and that allowed me to just accelerate by him. So that was 2 overtakes in basically 3 corners, which is pretty crazy. Now we're going to cut to the end of lap 21, where I'm gaining on Russell. I'm going to try to go around the outside, but he blocks me off. I'm just going to slow down more and get the switchback move on him, which allows me to just easily overtake him, and plus, since I was behind him at the activation point, I get the DRS, so he won't be able to come back at me. So that's a big plus for me. And now we are only 4 positions away from getting into the points. And luckily for us, they are in a train up ahead too. So we'll see if we can actually make it into the points for our first point this season. Kvyat makes a move on Lance Stroll going around the outside and gets it at the next corner. And right here, they start braking early because they're following each other, so I just dive up the inside of Lance Stroll and get an easy position. We're actually up 2 places now because my teammate Grosjean pitted for his last set of tires, which is really unfortunate. I don't know why he pitted on softs or mediums for the safety car, because he did come in right before me. So I don't know why he had the pit again. Maybe he got damaged, but now we're closing up down to Kvyat on the end of lap 23. And we're going to get DRS, and fortunately for us, the car in front of him is too far, so he doesn't get DRS off him, making that a really easy pass. And now, with five laps remaining, or is that, yeah, 5 laps remaining, all we have to do is pass Ricciardo now in the Renault, so we can get our first set of points, and our first point, rather, in Formula 1. So now we are cutting to the end of lap 28, heading on to the final lap of the race. We are right behind Ricciardo. We're going to be able to get into his DRS zone. We bumped the engine up to maximum fuel mix, maximum ERS display. I can't even talk. Maximum ERS, overtake mode, and we are around the outside cleanly. Easy turn and no challenge from Ricciardo. We are in P10, and as long as we can hold them off for the rest of the race, we should be able to have our first point in Formula 1. Ricciardo's on the hard tire too, so his tire wear might be a little less than mine is on the medium. But we cut up to the end of the lap now. We can see that Ricciardo has had no ability to overtake us again, and we are going to get our first point in Formula 1 as we weave across the start-finish line.
Alright, race over. Take care of the car on the way in.
Let's see what effect this result has had on the drivers' standings. Lewis Hamilton takes over the lead of the Drivers' Championship after an excellent result. Some amazing talent out on the track today, but Anthony, who would you pick as your driver of the day?
That's got to be the Flying Finn. Wait, how many Flying Fins have we had now? Anyway, I'm talking about Bottas this time. Just great raw speed, and a good job in traffic as well.
It's time to see how things are shaping up in the Constructors' Championship. Mercedes continue to extend their lead. Meanwhile, Ferrari have improved their position. A strong weekend from them as they fight their way towards the top. Well, that was certainly an incredible weekend of racing. Be sure to join myself and Ant for more exciting Formula 1 action soon.
So, with our first point in Formula 1, we come in 10th place. Lewis Hamilton wins the Bahrain Grand Prix with the 2 Ferraris coming right behind him. Grosjean, with that late pit stop, he fell right out of contention for any points all the way back to 18th, which is a pretty big disappointment. So that means we are now tied for P12 with our teammate, with the McLarens ahead of us. So it looks like we're going to probably be battling them all season. They are only 8 points ahead of us, but it's still early days. If we upgrade the car a little, then we can be jumping into more point positions than we are right now.
That's very disappointing. I know you can do better than that. Take stock of what went wrong so you can get a better result next time.
So, as you saw, we did not fulfill our contract goal. 4th was a little bit optimistic, I should say the least, to say the least, for Haas. it would have taken at least 2 of the front runners to crash out. But going into the R&D screen, I decided to do one of the chassis and one engine upgrade, since I had enough points for both. I already did the one aerodynamic last time, and I want to get to that tire wear upgrade on the chassis side. So, because Haas's tires are pretty bad. But anyway, if you made it here, thank you for watching. If you liked the video, please leave a like, and subscribe if you want to see more. If you have any comments for how I can be a better better talker, I should say, leave it in the comments. But I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.